Let's talk to the French journalist now, Nabila Ramdani, who joins us from central London. Nabila, welcome to you. I know you're based in the UK, so you see this from both sides of the story, if you like. There's an impression that's sometimes fostered in this country that where the migrant crisis, if that's what it is concerned, the French are being a little laissez-faire about things. They're not really putting their heart into it. Is that how you see things?
Well, I think it's a bit of an unfair criticism, and I think that Theresa May's visit now in Calais is precisely to send that message that the French and indeed the British authorities are going to work hand in hand and as vigorously as possible on both sides of the Channel. And that's precisely why they are going to announce today very firm measures, including a clampdown on people smugglers, better security around the Channel Tunnel and indeed the ports areas, and indeed an improvement in humanitarian facilities. I think that both politicians, Mrs. Theresa May and Bernard Cazeneuve, her French counterpart, are acutely aware of how many people are concerned about the refugee and indeed the migrant crisis, and they want to be appearing to be doing something. Well, having said that, I think the idea of sending British police on French soil to help capture people smugglers and indeed to work in a new control centre in the Channel Tunnel and indeed around the port area is also sending the message that the French are not doing enough on that front, and effectively the British are going to be there to give a hand in trying to sort that out.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's been portrayed, both sides are, as you say, doing something, and the way it's been portrayed is a bit like this, that the British are putting up fences, I should say, and new security cameras, and the French are putting up beds. 500 for migrants there, and everybody agrees the conditions are pretty wretched. People disagree when it comes to the measures to stop people coming, and there is a feeling, and it's certainly one reflected in a couple of newspapers here in the UK this morning, that if you start putting up beds, and we think back to Sangatte, don't we, that you create a magnet that simply attracts more people.
Yes, well, absolutely. And one of the things that is going to be discussed today is, as I said, to improve humanitarian facilities. And now the French want to see an increase in, the conditions offered by the Jules Ferry Welcome Centre, which was opened in January, which effectively provides showers and indeed food for hundreds of people, and a few hundreds of beds as well for the most vulnerable migrants, including women and children. There's likely to be some opposition from the British side to that, the idea being that if you make the centre and the area too attractive, then it might be a magnet for migrants and attract more people to the Calais area and encourage people to try to make it to Britain. Though this is likely to be perhaps a point of dissension between the two parts. Having said that, I think this joint agreement is somehow a success as a show of intent. Both politicians want to be seen to be doing something. And I have to say they have been very honest about the scale of the problem, and they have to be commended for that.
We've seen it before. We've seen these shows of unity before, haven't we? I remember I was there 13 years ago in a dingy room in Calais when Britain's then Home Secretary, I should say, David Blunkett, and his French counterpart, a gentleman who went by the name of Nicolas Sarkozy, who went on to better things, were agreeing all kinds of things to deal with this crisis. And it remains as insoluble as ever. There's that sense of Groundhog Day, of déjà vu, about this whole process.
Well, yes, absolutely. And it's fair to say or to describe these problems as circular problems simply because they have been going on for so many years. You're absolutely right about that. But I think, as I was trying to say, there is honesty on both sides, that the French and the British are dealing with a far larger problem. Calais is the tip of a vast iceberg, and the idea that desperate populations, desperate migrants and refugees coming from a devastated country are going to stop, seeking for relatively more settled and indeed secure countries is ludicrous. The numbers are simply not going to abate, and both politicians have put out a joint statement early this summer to acknowledge that we are dealing with global factors and with countries that both the French and the British cannot hope to deal with. And Mr. Bernard Cazeneuve has commendably put out ideas, including field trips to countries in Africa, for example, to try to deal with the root causes of the problem that lead to that kind of mass migrations.
Nabila Ramdani, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning. Thanks a lot.